Good evening and welcome to the Wild Winter Women YouTube channel. This is episode 8. I'm Leah Gruen and we're here tonight with a daily recording to talk about the Iditarod Trail Invitational, which is a human-powered race taking place right now across Alaska. It's currently the evening of Sunday, March 2nd, and tonight we have two special guests, Mayella Krause and Nina Stupples. They are two racers who just completed the Iditarod Trail Invitational 50-mile race on bike. And so they are currently in the interior of Alaska in the town of McGrath joining us. And they're here to talk about their race. And then once we hear about that, I do have some updates on the other racers who are currently still out there. So welcome to Mayella and Nina. Happy to have you. Do you each want to introduce yourself?
Sure, yeah. So I am Mayella Krause. I've finished the 350-mile race to McGrath on Thursday morning. It's been a few days. In 3 days and 20 some hours. This is my second time doing the race. I did it last year. Completely different conditions this time around. Very happy about how everything went. I'm excited to be here, excited to share tales from the trails.
Awesome.
Yeah, and hi, I'm Nina Stupples. I'm from New Zealand, and I'm not really a bike racer. I like being outside in the wilderness, and I've always liked cold places, which is how I ended up coming on this trail. This is my second time to McGrath, and the first time I was taking 9.5 days. I think I arrived like 4 hours before the official cutoff. And a really deep snow year with quite a lot of drama. And this time I finished in pretty much bang on 5 days. So yeah, very different experience this time, and pretty awesome to see the contrast that you can have in this unique part of the world. Yeah. Thanks for hosting us.
Yeah, great. So yeah, I'm not really sure where to start. Do you want to kind of walk us through your race, maybe the route and kind of how it all came together?
Go ahead. Yeah. You probably have discussed the details of the route with people already, but for me, it was a slightly different route this year because on that first time I came, we went a different way to the first checkpoint. But yeah, my main anxiety was getting lost and bumbling around with everybody watching my dot. Getting to checkpoint 1. So I managed to do pretty good getting to Butterfly Lake with no mistakes. But after that, I went offline across Cow Lake and ended up at quite a swift river that I was really quite nervous about crossing, and looking at my waders and thinking this just can't be right. And I didn't see any tracks on the other side. So I backtracked and wasted a bit of time there, but eventually got onto a better way. And had a nice first night riding into Yetna, and then the next day to Shell Lake, where we had a cozy cabin for the night, and then on to Puntilla, which is always a beautiful place to arrive in the heart of the sort of mountains there. The day over Rainy Pass for me was a beautiful day, fantastic weather, and into Roan to enjoy the hospitality of the checkpoint there. And then I carried on with some other people that I joined up with, Janice Tower, Matt Tanaka, and Mark Selland. And we had a bivvy up in the Burn, which was something I was always nervous about. It's got that reputation of being a scary place. It was cold, probably about minus 28 Celsius. That's the those are the units I operate in. I'm sorry. I can't think of it in any other way.
Yeah, is that maybe like
pretty
15,
cold?
15 below or something?
Yeah, I was just like lying on some lumps of moss under a tree, which was pretty uncomfortable. But we had a beautiful aurora that night. We made a campfire. We had wolves howling in the distance, and it turned into a pretty special night. So from something I was very nervous about, it was probably one of the highlights of the whole trip for me. Then the next day was pretty grueling through to Nikolai. It was quite a long way from there for my usual biking style. I don't like riding much at night. I kind of like to just do daylight hours. Office hours is what I like, but it wasn't to be. I think I got into Nikolai about 9 p.m. and I was pretty shattered, to be honest. A lot of lumps on the way between the burn and Nikolai, which I had to push my bike over. But I had a nice sort of lunchtime break where I made some hot food and brought up some water and and it was quite sunny at that stage. It was pretty nice. Then Nikolai to McGrath was an absolutely. I loved the ride on the river. Last time I took the overland trail and had an absolute nightmare. It was totally blown in. I couldn't even push my bike. I had to actually lift it up and sort of throw it forward and stomp a trail and shove it along the stomped path, and that was just destroyed me. Whereas this time it was just like an amazing day of winter bike touring on the river. It was so scenic. Lots of animal tracks. I was pretty much biking with myself, but Doug Cold Bike and I kind of leapfrogged a few times and had a little bit of a chat here and there. But it was so peaceful. There was not a breath of wind, so it was a magic end to the whole journey. So yeah, it was a great experience.
Yeah, I also had a very great experience this time around. The conditions were not nearly as brutal as last year. We did have some cold mornings that it dropped to like 15 below or so, but it was never, I was never extremely cold but by any means. The first day was super fast. I rode through Big Lake with Matt and Janice, which was absolutely a blast. I have the utmost respect for those two people. When at the start line, Matt came to me, like he saw that I was trying to take a photo of myself under the start banner, and he came to me. He gave me this great big hug, and he said, "Welcome home." And that really resonated with me for the entire time of the race, because he knows how much this means to me, and it just made me so happy. It set the mood right from the beginning. Got to Butterfly in a pretty quick time. And then leaving Butterfly, they stayed there for a little bit longer, and I was just high on life. I just wanted to keep on going. So my turnaround at Butterfly was fairly quick. So I left, met up with Kendall. And then Kendall and I ended up riding together for a good chunk of the race, all the way to Finger Lake. We did a push, a sleepless push. We skipped Yentna. We stopped the Hooligans just to get some food and dry out a little bit, and then we stopped at Squintna to reassess and see what we're going to do next. We got some sodas at Squintna and then kept on pushing to Shell Lake. And then at Shell Lake, we stopped for 2 hours. I took a quick nap. She did not. So Shell Lake was my first actual shut-eye time. And then from Shell, we pushed to Finger Lake. The snow was a little bit rutted and it was starting to get a little soft once the sun came up. And Kendall got concerned that conditions were just going to deteriorate. So at Finger Lake, she decided to invert her schedule and ride during the night when the snow is harder. And rest during the day. I had still a lot of energy left in me, so I just decided to keep on pushing. I also had a pretty brutal stretch last year from Finger to Puntilla, and so my mindset was like, nothing can hurt me more than what last year did to me. So I was like, I'm gonna push. I don't care that the snow is a little bit soft. I'll keep on doing this. And that stretch, I forgot on how taxing it is. There's lots of up and downs,
lots of bike pushing.
Yeah. I don't call them hike a bike. I call them climb a bike because they are so steep. And you will swear a lot on those, and you just they will take a lot out of you. So by the time that you get to the top of the climb before you drop into the lake, you also forget how long the stretch is for you to get to Puntilla. Those marshes and swamps just keep on coming and coming and coming, and they never end. And I was riding at night, and I just wanted to get to Puntilla. Like I knew that I was going to have a nice bunk bed for myself. So I was just looking forward to it. The last 4 or 5 miles leading into Puntilla got destroyed by a moose. So I crashed like about 3 or 4 times because I kept on putting my wheel into, the post holes of the moose. I was also very tired. It was dark. So I was not having my best time when it got to that point, but I got to Puntilla, had some nice rest there, about 6 or 7 hours, got, a nice meal, decided to push through to Rainy Pass like early on, and it was the highlight of the race this time around. Like we called the Rainy Pass the crux of the race, but to me it was the best day. It was so different from last year.
Mm-hmm.
Last year it took me 22 hours to get from Puntilla to Rhone, and this time around I just had the biggest smile on my face. Like it was bluebird day, not even wind. You could hear the ptarmigans when you were riding up. It was just magical, like wolf tracks, caribou tracks. It was just beautiful, beautiful day. Everyone was just such in high spirits. The descent through the Dalzell Gorge was just absolutely magical as well. We did have some sketchy crossings, but I think that I was just so happy to be riding my bike that I didn't even
Mm-hmm.
care much about the sketchy crossings. Um, at some point, I caught up to Kara, who was third place. And then we did a river crossing, the creek crossing together. So she crossed first, and I crossed after. And as I was taking my waders off, the Italian train came through. So Kara she had race mode on, so she just kept on pushing, and a nice day to just lollygag with the Italians, the
Mm-hmm.
known entity
Yeah.
of the Italians. Yeah, and then we pushed to Rhone, got to Rhone a little bit in the evening. My initial plan was to take a power nap there, and then push through the night. And as I was kind of settling in, Tiziano tells me to follow them and tag along. And I was like, oh no, I'm kind of tired. I'm only on like 8 hours of sleep. And he was like, yeah, don't leave Rhone at night. It's kind of sketchy to find the trail because there's no snow this year. So I took their advice, and Ethan and I ended up leaving, I don't know, maybe 30 or 40 minutes after they left, during the daylight, which was the smart decision to do, because it was a little bit sketchy. We still ended up going a little bit further down on the Tatina that we should
Mm-hmm.
have.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to backtrack to find a trail. And then we rode about 10 miles outside of Rhone, and then we passed the Italian campground. They had a nice fire going on. And Ethan and I stopped, and we looked at one another, and we were like, do we bivvy here? Do we keep on going? We both still had some energy left, but did that fire look nice? So we decided, we're like, oh no, let's ride a little bit more. We both have energy.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I've been wondering, where did they stop? Was it just like a clearing? Were they in trees? Were there any like tents or
Yeah.
buildings, or was there anything there? Or were they just like along the side of the trail?
It was alongside on the trail. There was like a clearing between the trees that was big enough because it ended up being a party of like 9 of us there. So it was this big enough clearing, like flat spot. But right before there's like the very first climb a bike that you hit when you get into that area, into the burn. Like it's right before that one, like that super steep
Okay.
climb a bike. So that's where we stopped. So initially, Ethan and I, we went through that. Like we went down the hill, then we pushed our bikes that massive hill. And then once we got into like when you get into the little lakes, like the Faroe Lakes, that the icy area, the wind was just ripping through, and it was getting really cold, and didn't really look promising for us to find a spot to bivvy. And then we looked to one another, and we're like, that fire looked really nice, huh? So we backtracked, and we went back, and we joined the Italian party, which was like your experience. It was just such a magical night bivvying.
Mm-hmm.
It was like the morning was a little bit cold. I was super comfy. I didn't have any issues. But yeah, the Northern Lights were out. There was like, wolves howling in the background, and yeah, the fire crackling. It was such a good midway point for us to just stop and reconnect and all that, and was one of the best sleeps. Even though I also like found a little weird spot that like my bum was like down in this like area, like in some like moss. So I wasn't super flat, but I did have some really good sleep. Yeah, and then we woke up, the first light came up and then packed up and kept on going. It was a little bit of a cold morning, but yeah, it ended up being really great because it put us through the tussocks throughout the daylight, which was, I personally feel like that was the best move to make. We didn't, none of us, they went a little bit ahead of me. Their pace was a little bit faster. So I hung out a little bit behind. But my goal was to make through the tussocks at daylight, which happened. I got to Sullivan Creek, I think around 4 or 5, something like that, which was a very welcome sight. To get to the creek, I ran out of water. There was not a lot of snow to melt. I did try to melt some snow, but it ended up being just tussocks and sticks and leaves. But yeah, the tussock field it was challenging. Like I lovingly call it the Chewbacca heads. Got annoying, but I feel like it could have been much worse if I hit that section at night or if I was tired. Like I feel like I hit the section with a really good mindset. Like, yeah, to me, it was just an exhausting day, but it wasn't like, yeah, like my motto this time is just accepting what the trail gives. And that's what I did. I just accepted what the trail was giving me. And I knew that soon enough I was going to be in Nikolai. Which yeah happened. Got to Nikolai around 9 p.m. Got a nice warm welcome by Jay Cable and Amber. Made me a meal. I got there so tired that I didn't even inflate my pad. I just rolled out my sleeping bag and I laid on the hard floor. And I think I slept for 2, 3 hours, and then I woke up and I couldn't sleep anymore. I was just too excited. I was like, I'm in Nikolai already. I was like, this is just yeah, I was just too giddy to get it going. Which in hindsight, I should have slept a little more because my last 20 or so miles, my last miles on the river were pretty rough. I was falling asleep on the bike, but I left Nikolai around 4 in the morning. The Northern Lights were just booming. The activity was just out of this world. There was just so much, like to the point that I got lost because I kept on like looking up. And I was also kind of, tired and sleep deprived and all that. It was also a very, very cold morning. I think it was probably like 15 below or 16 below. It was very cold. And then yeah, oh yeah, and I saw a wolf going into Nikolai too. Like it just like went like right by me. There was so many fresh wolf tracks leading into Nikolai. And I saw one just like go in front of the trail. And I thought at first, yeah, I thought I was like hallucinating because I was tired. But then I like looked down and I saw all the tracks and I was like,
wow,
not a hallucination. I mean, could have been a hallucination. Who knows? Yeah. But yeah, and
that's
then
wonderful.
yeah, the last final push out of Nikolai, I was excited that the conditions weren't going to be as tough as last time too, because I got snowed in. Like I rode into Nikolai last year right as the storm was rolling through, so it was like 3-4 inches of fresh snow. But this time was just taking the river, which last time I also did take the overland. But yeah, I was very tired. I was falling asleep on the bike. Like it was kind of a tough push. Like it was very mentally challenging because you know that you're so close to and you just want to be there. And I was like, I just want to be done. But I did it.
Yay. Great job. And then what's it been like to be in McGrath at at that lodge?
Yeah, it's been pretty fun. There's a lot of people here. It's really busy because the bikers were so fast and kind of came in a large blob this year rather than being spread out because even us slow people were a lot faster than normal. So, but it's been also really nice because you have a chance to talk to a lot of people and you get a lot of different perspectives on the whole experience. The town itself is super quiet just now because there's no dog teams here. And when I was here last time in 2020, I was so slow that I was exactly at the time that a lot of the dog teams were coming through. So I actually spent a lot of time at the Iditarod dog headquarters here, watching the vet checks and seeing the teams come in. And it was pretty moving because they're so beautiful to watch coming down the river, and then they just silently move off again, and you're just like, oh my God, it's so amazing. So I sort of miss that. But at the same time, people are very friendly here, and it's been fun. Everybody pitches in, cooking, laundry. There's like full time. The washing machine is just like churning. The dryer is churning 24/7 pretty much. And people coming and going. If there's been all sorts of activity with Kyle's plane. He's been flying around bombing people with different supplies. And so we've been kind of holding the fort, sometimes taking photos of the finishers and meeting and greeting people. It's kind of nice to be involved in that aspect of the event as well as the actual doing it. Yeah. Having a bit of a paying back a little bit to the community by trying to help things out at this end.
Yeah. I've been making a joke that we're all in house arrest here because we're all wearing the same shirts, like the little school group here, because it's the only clean clothes that we have, and like there's not a whole lot to do around here. You have the bingo hall that was supposed to happen yesterday, but it didn't, sadly. And then you have the local bar, and that's about it.
Although you said you watched a movie one night, Janice Towers movie.
Yeah, we did. It was really cool. Yeah, it was really sweet. But yeah, it's really nice being part, like being so involved in this and being able to be here to support other people, and just be immersed in within this community of like-minded folks that just live deeply, and we're all so passionate about this, and we're all like playing musical chairs here with the beds, like you're just rotating and giving the beds to the racers that are coming in, especially the folks that have been here for a while and had chance to sleep on the bed. Then you just move it over to the couch or to the floor, and then let other people take the bed and get some good night of rest. And it's just great. Like yesterday we had 28 racers here. Today we're supposed to have 30 to 32, depending on how fast the foot people are churning, plus the family that owns the outpost. It's a family of 10, so it's a lot of people in one small space.
Yeah. And I assume the garage is completely full of bikes.
It was, but right now the airport is more full because the first initial shipment of gear didn't take off. It was supposed to take off on Thursday and it didn't. And it was supposed to take off on Friday, but it didn't. And now it's taking off on Monday. So none of the bikes or sleds or skis that have arrived since the race started have left yet. So
we did a big shift out to the airport this afternoon, so we took everything out there, and the garage is pretty semi-empty now.
Yeah.
Oh, good. That's great.
Yeah. Did you have some photos that you wanted to look through, or are we running out of time for that?
We can run through them quickly.
Yeah.
Just a second. I can share my screen. Let me know when you can see that.
We can see it.
Okay, great. So you said this is one of the crossings on the Titina River?
Yeah, that's when the Italian freight train came through.
Yeah, so these are the Italians over here at this end. So
this was Kara, myself, and Mike. We put our waders on and we crossed like on the right side of it. And where you see it right now, that's where Tiziano first plowed through. So he rode halfway through, and then it got a little bit deep, so he put his feet in the water and then just kind of like walk and carry his bike through. Got his foot wet for sure. But he was able to find a space there that with human power we could just move the bikes and just pass the bikes to from one person to another, and then do like a leap of faith and jump into the ice shelf. I am very sure that ice shelf didn't last very long. It was deteriorating quite fast when Kara and I got there. And with the amount of people that just jumped and leaped through it, I'm pretty sure that it probably collapse like within the, I don't know, 3 or 4 racers that came after us. But yeah, it seems like the majority of the people were putting their wiggies on and just crossing, just carrying the bikes across on their backs and just, crossing with wiggies.
This
That
is going
is,
up the pass?
yeah, that was leading up to Rainy Pass. That was a photo similar, but not quite similar to that. Was the only photo that I took last year from Rainy Pass. I say not quite similar because you can't really see the pass because it was a massive windstorm. So it was all blown out.
Yes.
But yeah, it was
ground
just
blizzard.
a beautiful day. Yeah. You know that.
Beautiful. Yep.
Yeah, that is Kiara crossing that same spot.
Yeah. And for viewers, we should add that these photos are out of order a little bit. So that's why. Okay. Yeah, we're back. Lots of different ways to get across.
Yeah, you get creative, and you also need to be just really smart about reading the river and the ice, so you don't get yourself into trouble. That one is looking back into the gorge. Like as soon as you hit Tatina, like you come down the Dalzell Gorge, and as soon as you put your wheels into the Tatina River, if you look back, that's what you see. Beautiful. So that's where we're riding from. Yeah, it was just such a beautiful day.
Yeah, I've been there during the day. It was a day just like this, but that was 9 years ago. And then the last 2 times I've come down, it's been dark and blowing and snow and ground blizzard and snow in my eyes and just a whole lot of chaos. And so like it's hard to imagine that it's even the same place. Like it can be so like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Like sometimes it's just gorgeous and placid, and sometimes it's really kind of scary.
Yeah. What made me feel like really proud of myself was just being able to ride all that stretch this year and just realizing that I had to push my bike last year from Puntilla to Roan. Like I just had this moment of being really proud for having the grit to just push through all that last year, especially with the conditions, like the windstorm, the temperatures, having to break trail and nonstop for 22 hours. And it was such a tough push, and like going through this year, like I had this like happiness because it was just this beautiful day and I was having such a good day on the bike, but also just thinking back of everything that I went through last time. I was like, man, like you did good.
Yeah.
You did good.
Yeah, you went through a lot last year.
Yeah.
Like a lot is an understatement.
Yeah, and that is when we arrived to Roan. To the point when we got to Roan, Adrian looked at me and I had this biggest smile on my face, and he was like, "Looks like you're having fun this year, huh?"
Yeah. People in Roan, the checkpoint people in Roan are fantastic. Well, in fact, all the checkpoint people all the way through are fantastic. But when you get there, because it's such a remote place, you appreciate them so much.
Yeah.
They've always got good humor. They're so ready to, give you anything you need. And it's such a nice time just to get up there. Although I met a guy on the river when I was coming down the river this time. I met a guy who was going the other way, and I was like, oh my God, have I taken a wrong turn somewhere? And he's coming towards me. Why is this? And he said, I can't find Roan. I've been up and down the river I don't know how many times. I'm just thinking, he's like, I'm not leaving you until we get to Roan. So he joined me and we just followed the markers and made it to Roan. So I'm not quite sure. I think he must have just missed the turn and gone further down.
It's easy to me. That's what I did last year, and Jesse did the same thing. It's really easy to miss it. When you're so desperate
to get somewhere, it really psychs you out, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And with no Iditarod teams, there was no big piles of straw, and also the checkpoint people had a nice cabin, nicer place to hang out.
Yeah, it was quite.
So this is the permanent cabin in Roan, so it's just kind of like right across from where this tent is, but this is just kind of like nestled in the mountains. It's such a pretty log cabin.
Yeah.
The racers aren't allowed to go into that cabin, but
we didn't go near it even.
Yeah.
Not even did we go in, we didn't even go close.
Yeah, that one's, yeah, that's also just living room.
Mm-hmm. And it can be hard to see where to go when you have a little bit of scratches from snowmobiles, but not like a trail to speak of.
Yeah, yeah. And the Cusco one was also, I can see the folks that left Rona at night and got lost along the way. I understand why, because the river was deteriorating really quick too. Like, in fact, when Ethan and I took our wrong turn and we went down further a little bit more than we were supposed to, my back wheel went in and we could just constantly hear the ice crack beneath us. Like it was
Oh my
very
gosh.
thin. Yeah, so it's like those times they're just like, nope, 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 nope. I know I don't. I just need to be on safe ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. Going into Nikolai this year too, at least for me, like all most of the way through Nikolai, I could hear the ice crack beneath me. Like it was very interesting because there was just no snow. It was
Yeah.
just a little ice highway, and for a good portion of the time, and because I wasn't also listening to music or anything,
Mm-hmm.
and I could hear the ice cracking. Oh yeah, that's the Italian camp.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the little clearing that they found.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, and it was right before that climb, that descent. It's this really,
Okay.
really steep descent that was very sketchy because it was just icy, and you
Yeah.
couldn't really tell that it was icy because just black ice. I call it
Mm-hmm.
brown ice because dirt. Um,
Mm-hmm.
So I went just like skating down. I had one foot down all the time because I didn't want to crash. But yeah, the burn was just such a different
Yeah.
experience this time around too.
And did you both have studded tires?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, made a
Okay.
big difference. Yeah.
Was there
And
anyone out there who did not have studded tires?
I don't think so.
I don't think
Okay.
so. I think that there were people that didn't fully stud, like they just halfway studded their
Mm-hmm.
tires and added some extra ones the morning of the race, but I think that everyone had studs on their
Good.
tires. I studded my
Good.
boots as well too, just to be
Oh.
extra safe because I didn't want to like Looney Tunes myself on a frozen river or lake.
Yeah. And did the two of you fall on the ice?
No.
Or did you stay upright?
I did once. Yeah, I did once through on the Faroe Lakes. I didn't see a drop. It was like this ice
Mm.
shove, and I didn't see the drop because I was looking. It was just like this beauty. It was in the early in the morning, so the lighting was just beautiful, and it was just focused on the lighting and the beautiful scenery. And I didn't see the ice shove and the drop, so my wheel went down, and I lost my balance. But it was such a very safe fall because like I like fell sideways and I immediately unclipped. I don't know how I unclipped, but like the bike just like fell and kept on like sliding from underneath me, and then I slid on my butt for probably I don't know like a few yards. And I just started
Mm.
giggling because it was such a cartoonish fall, but that
Yeah.
was the only one that I crashed on the ice. For the most
Okay.
part, I was being very conservative of my speed too.
Good. And just let me know when the two of you need to go to dinner.
Sure.
Yeah, we'll let you know. Yeah, and
Okay.
then more camp with the fire going on. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
one side is a fire and the other one is just a stove being lit up. But
Mm.
yeah, that was such a nice bivy spot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, more of that.
And from traveling with these people, it's funny. I can just see like a little bit of their bodies, or like just at that river crossing, and just know exactly who they are, like just
Yeah.
instantly from a distance. Like I know their clothes, I know their bodies. Like it's really fun to
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. Yeah, one of my favorite things about like the entity called the Italians is that we call them the Italians, but it's like three Italians, one Spaniard, and then Perry from South Dakota. But
Yeah.
but they all got lumped being into the Italians.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this I think that this was the morning of the burn. Yeah, it was.
That's a great photo.
Cool.
Yeah,
That's really neat.
The burn was so different. Like last year not last year, it was 2020 for me. It was like a full blizzard. You couldn't see anything. It was just white out.
yeah,
But we did have some bison, which was really cool at that time. And they just kind of came out of the snow, and they just slowly cruised past, and that was like a real highlight.
yeah.
But the rest of it was just deep. There was no tussocks. There was not even a hint of anything because everything was so many meters under snow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's totally different.
Yeah, I was actually surprised to I found out this year that there were bison there. I did not know that there was a
There was bison poo everywhere on the ground because it wasn't under the snow.
Yeah.
So you could see a lot of bison poo. I was a bit disappointed not to see a bison this
Yeah.
time. And we had a whole bunch of bison hunters come through last time as well on these snow machines.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
And churn up just as the snow was starting to pack down, and like actually being able to ride their bikes, they just like
and you're like,
oh, to mashed potatoes. After the moose post hold it first time, then the snow machines wrecked it even further. Of course, it's our trail.
Yeah,
it should be nice for us to ride.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and that's when the ruts started. So you started with the ruts on the burn, and then you got served some tussocks after.
Yeah, so I did find a few dollops of tussocks here and there.
Yeah.
But it kind of didn't wreck you totally mentally because in between the tussocks there was actually some sort of frozen swamp, wasn't there? To give you a little bit of a break.
Yeah.
It wasn't like solid tussock.
Yeah. Oh, we got a pre-race party photo in the mix there.
So from left to right, this is Amanda Harvey and Lynn Hall, and they rode together on bike, and I'll be talking to them in the coming days. They're good friends. Maya, and then this is Kari Gibbons, and she is in the 1,000-mile race on foot to Nome, and she'll be coming into McGrath. Would you say late tonight, early tomorrow?
Yeah, probably. She was making good time. Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
I have to say a special mention about Amanda and Lynn. They might not tell you on their podcast, but they helped me quite a bit getting through to Pantilla with those climbs. We had a 3-person machine getting our bikes up those steep bits. Yeah, so it was made my life. I would have to unload some of my bags to get up some of them, I think, otherwise.
Yeah, having people help you with those makes such a difference. Yeah, because they are so steep. Like I've taken photos, but like there's no way of people knowing like how steep they are until you're there. It's just like they're just ridiculous.
So because of the minimal snow, a lot of it was just like frozen mud. Yeah, and you just couldn't get any purchase with your feet in it.
Yeah. Your bike would just like roll back, and it was a constant battle against gravity.
And one thing I have to say about Kari too is she's the one who started Wild Winter Women as a way to create a network of women to really support each other and help each other along. Not everybody knows everything in the group, even the most experienced people in the group, but collectively, we have a ton of knowledge to share with each other. So this is Wild Winter Women is really her baby. So happy to continue it on when she's, now that she's on the trail. More moving across.
Yeah, Rainy Pass. I was able to get a photo of this damn sign.
Yeah.
Last year at Krause, I got there at night, and because of the windstorm and everything else, and how exhausted I was and how cold it was too, I just didn't want to gamble with frostbite because it was 40 below. Could have been colder because my thermometer, like the it only went to 40 below, and that's what it was reading. Plus the wind, it was most likely way colder than that. I didn't want to take my phone out to try to take a photo at night of a sign that you couldn't even see because there was just like a snowstorm anyways. So when I just shined at the light and I saw the reflectiveness of the sign coming, hitting my eyes last time, I was just like, that's the sign, but I don't care about it. I just want to be done with this. I want to get to Rome. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got to take my rainy pass photo this time around, which was great.
Beautiful. I love that dark blue sky too. Like you can tell it's just a gorgeous day.
Yeah, not a single cloud. It was just magical.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure which point this one is. Maybe, man, when was this? It was one of the cold mornings, but you know what? I think this was going into Finger Lake after,
Mm-hmm. Nice.
when Kendall and I were still riding together. Yeah, that one is leading to Puntilla once you get into those lakes.
Cool. Oh gosh.
Yeah, you hear some of the steep climb bikes that you just can't tell in the photo how horrible they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, this one is Living Shell. That's when the where the snow was getting a little bit softer as the day, as the sun started to rise up, the snow was getting a little bit softer and a little bit tackier, a little slow going. So Kendall and I, we hit it good because we started getting to most of that section when it was still frozen hard because of the night and whatnot. But I think that the people that passed through there during the day probably had a little bit of a slog going through that section. More of the signs that are never accurate.
Right.
That is Julie. Right after Butterfly, I rode with Julie and Carl and Kendall for a little bit. And then Kendall and I and my pace were just a little bit higher, so it kind of took off. But yeah, had a chance to ride with Julie and Carl, who are both doing their Nome bound this year, and they're riding it together.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's Big Lake with Matt and Janice, and I can't remember who else joined our party there. But
Thomas?
Yeah, I think
Thomas Miller.
Yeah.
Could be,
Yeah.
Yeah, and that one is also leading to Butterfly. First day. Yeah, same. Like, it's just crazy that it was just so fast. Like, the ice was just made it such a quick.
Looks like you got some company. The snow machines.
Yeah, that is Kyle and Cynthia.
Oh, okay. Great.
Yeah, I tried to get a photo when they're like passing right by us. I only realized that it was them when they passed by us, so the photo wasn't the best. But you can see, I think that Cynthia has her hand up. Yeah, that is that very first kick that you have, like when you're heading into Butterfly. That usually is the little hill that you have to push. And that's Matt. Ollie's smiling.
Yeah.
I think that's Julie. Yeah, that's Julie again. Matt and Janice. Yeah. That's Kendall when we were riding, when we decided to just push through the night. That's Kendall packing up 6 cans of soda. So when we got to Hooligans, she loaded up with 6 cans of Coke, and then when we got to Squetna, she had to change from Coke to Sprite because there was just too much caffeine that had been consumed prior. But yeah, every spot that we could find soda, she would just always go for 6 cans to fill her bottles. Yeah, that was at Hooligans. Still feeling happy on life there.
Yeah. How do you like the mesh long underwear?
I I really like it
Yeah.
a lot. It dries really quick. It keeps me really warm for the majority of the race. I just wore the mesh and then my soft shell on top. And then
Hmm.
at some point, I think after Rhone, I was putting my Alpha Direct hoodie in between because it got a little bit colder once you cross the range. But yeah, I am a convert of it, and I have the bottoms too. And like for the bottoms, that's all I wear. I had only the mesh bottoms and my 45 North pants, and it kept me warm like through -15. Like
Wow. And do you do
I
the
really, really like it.
wool or polyester?
Polyester, yeah, because the
Okay.
wool takes longer to dry, and the polyester dries super quick.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool. I've heard great things about it.
I highly, highly recommend. Yeah, Shell Lake. Kendall and I, we got there. The other two folks that were just leaving, so we got super lucky. The cabin was warm, the fire was still crackling, so we spent 2 hours at the cabin there just to warm up, get some food. I got a quick little 2-hour power nap. So yeah, it was perfect timing. We didn't have to throw elbows with anyone.
Great. And is this a different cabin than last year? Do you remember?
That's yeah, so that's the lower one. Last
Yeah.
year we stayed on the two upper ones, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And this year they even had like a box of candy.
Yeah, that was
Ooh,
great.
Yeah.
great.
No idea which point that one is, but
Yeah.
seem so happy.
Yeah. It's great.
Yeah, that's the morning leading into Finger Lake.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, those just beautiful pinks and
Hmm.
pastel colors.
And the
It
snow
is
in
such
the
a beautiful it's such a beautiful sight, like when you start going up towards Finger Lake and you see the Alaskan range for the first time, and it's just
mhm.
like this glorious like mountain range. You're like, oh, so pretty.
And all the snow just looks like a pillow. Like it just looks so soft.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. Oh, another climb.
Yeah, another one of those. Last year I did yeah, last year we had to break trail through all that. That is leaving Finger Lake. So that one was all drifted and blown in. It was like shin deep snow. You couldn't ride it. And this time around, I just could not believe that I was able to ride my bike.
Hmm.
Yeah, more of, I think that is leading into the happy, like one of the sections of the happy. I can't remember. But yeah, it's just more of those
Hmm.
climbs that you forget. Like I forgot how many of those there are throughout that section, which made me, at some point, it made me regret not stopping at Finger Lake and taking a good rest there. Because it's a tough push. Like Finger Lake to Puntilla is a tough push just because of those climbs,
Hmm.
and they should have rested.
Oh my
Yep.
gosh, that looks steep.
Yeah, yeah. And last year I did those with George and Brian, which I mean, yeah, you had the gals too to help out, and it makes such a difference when you have other people that, once your upper body starts to kind of give out on you. And I have a recently operated on shoulder. I had a bicep tenodesis and a
Oh,
labor reconstruction done in September, so my shoulder
yeah.
isn't the strongest right now to have to, haul a 70-pound bike up steep hills. So it's
Hmm.
really helpful when you have other people that can, help out and hoist your bike and take turns. But
Yeah.
yeah, I did most of that on my own this time.
Hmm.
I think, yeah, that's Happy Steps. That is Cameron right there. That little dot that you see, that is the Cameron that took the wrong turn and went into Hell's Gate.
Okay, yeah, Kim.
Yeah, so
Yeah, he
yeah, we
seems like
did.
a really easygoing guy.
Oh, completely relaxed about it, all of that whole drama.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, like it was, and they recouped like on their timing so quick too. Like, but he was just like, yeah, you know what, that's it happened. It was a mistake. but we just backtracked and we got on the correct trail and we carried on. I was like, holy crap, man. Like your attitude is just so...
For 17 miles.
Yeah.
And he and Philip are such strong riders. I was amazed at how quickly they covered the distance. You know, and that they went back. The other thing that impressed me is that they didn't, they could have gone back down, once they got back to the trail, they could have gone back down to Pontilla or to Rainy Pass Lodge to resupply and get something to eat. But they just took a left and then went up over the pass to Roan. Like, I was just really impressed because I was thinking, like, how do they have any food left? Like, anything to drink? Like, I would think, or me, I would be like super depleted, but they just just went along and went over to Roan. So it was really cool.
Yeah.
They look pretty tired and Roan, I have to say.
Okay.
I was arriving as they were just kind of recovering somewhat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The Roan checkpoint, people said it took they closed because Cameron went in the water.
Yeah.
He fell in the river at the Hell's Gate end, and they said his clothes were like a frozen hard block. It took them more than an hour to actually pull him out.
Oh wow! I didn't know that he fell in. Wow.
Yeah,
which one fell in?
Yeah.
Cameron.
Oh,
Cameron. Yeah.
But yeah, he was still pretty just like, oh well, shit happens.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's part of the...
I mean, yeah, that's the attitude. Yeah, that's the attitude that you have to have on these type of events. You can't really let it go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is also after Finger Lake.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, I couldn't see much of that last time because it was just like a blizzard. So I was just taking all of the photos that I could this time around.
Mm-hmm.
Then Puntilla last year, Leah knows this too. We had, how many of us were crammed in that little cabin? Like 18, 19 of us?
Yeah, it was full. It was full and then some.
Yeah.
And because Faye and Jeff came in, they were on foot. And I remember overhearing them talking about like where they were going to go. I don't remember if they were planning on going outside the cabin or what they were going to do, but we were all getting up, like half of the cabin or 2/3 of the cabin was going to be getting up really early to go over the pass. So I told them, I was like, wait, who are you? Turns out, they're good friends of mine, but I didn't recognize them in the dark. But I was like, hey, like most of us are going to be getting up in like a half hour. So just hang out here on the couch and then you'll get your pick of the beds. But yeah, it was definitely full.
And that was also where the majority of the field scratched last year too, just because of that storm that rolled through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that wind chill was something else.
Yeah. Yeah, more of pretty lights and just soft snow.
Mm-hmm.
And the last time that I wore my nose hat, the trail has claimed my nose hat this time around.
Oh no!
It is, yeah, it is somewhere at the barn. I think that there's just the bumpiness of it. Like it was just like kind of poorly placed on top of my lights, and just the bumpiness of the barn probably just made it like flip out of it. I usually rig to flip on my bike and I carabiner everything into it, but I didn't on my nose hat because I thought it was secure enough, but it wasn't. So, Elaine, if you're watching this, I need a new one.
Yeah, and I was gonna say maybe someone will pick it up and it'll turn up in McGrath eventually.
Oh, I hope so because I love that thing.
Yeah. Are you missing supper, or do you want to go check?
I'll go check. Yeah. It sounds like everyone's still in.
Thanks, Ina. Yeah, that's also leading into Rainy Pass. That's Mike. We kind of leapfrogged. He's Nome bound. And he was
goldfish.
Nice.
I'm missing supper just yet.
Nice. Yeah. So he was the one who was like tracking. He was able to spot some sheep tracks and the caribou tracks leading to Rainy Pass. So we're like talking a little bit about that on the way up, and it was really nice having some trail side chats with him.
Cool.
More of the same. Yeah, some little wolf tracks.
Mm-hmm.
And that's Mike and Kara taking a break when we got to the top of the pass. Seemed nice. Like they called me in to go take a break with them, but I was just very hyper focused on getting to the sign. I was like, I just want to get to the
Mm-hmm.
sign. Yeah,
It's
that's at the
amazing.
top of
It's amazing that so much that this was rideable. Like I don't see any
right.
footprints. It's just all tire tracks.
Yeah,
Love it.
yeah. Like it was just so good. I was just so grateful for that.
I know. I'm so jealous and like bummed to have missed it. So cool.
I don't think it will ever get any better than this. Like this was just a
Yeah.
cherry on the cake this time around, and I know that next year is just not gonna be like this, and I need to be ready for
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the staple bike on the sign.
Yeah.
That's Kara in one of the other of the sketchy-ish crossings on the Dalzell. I think that we hit like 3 of those. That one we didn't have to get the waders out. We were able to just kind of finagle the bike through and like plop like one wheel and one to the side and like push on the other and all
Mm-hmm.
that. I could. How was it when you crossed it?
I went through all of them. I didn't use waders at all
Oh,
in any of them,
nice.
and I was the only one. I had a little bit of help from Julie and Carl, and on the ice one that you had all the photos of the Italians. They just helped me get my bike in the right position that I could roll it over, and the ice shelf was actually still intact.
Nice.
So yeah,
Nice.
I had a pretty easy time going through
Yeah.
because I could see where everyone else had gone.
Yeah.
Because it was like a day and a half later.
Yeah. Yeah.
A bit easier.
Yeah. I think that Kendall hit that one. Like it was a little bit sketchier for Kendall because she got there and it was kind of melty and it's just crazy. It's so dynamic on like the thaw and freeze cycles, how it happens on that one. Like you never like just a day, the difference that it makes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, same one.
Mm.
I think I think that is all rainy pass or going into the gorge. That is looking at the pass for sure.
They were into tussocks.
Tobacco heads.
Mm-hmm.
That's Sullivan Creek when they stopped to get some
Oh.
water. Yeah, I. Funny thing is that I was just so tired. It was such a long push. Um, that I had the purification tablets in my frame bag, but I was just so tired that I didn't want to stop to boil water or even like go to the trouble of finding my tabs and just dropping into a water bottle. I just filled the water bottles and drinking straight out of the creek.
Mm-hmm.
So I may or may not be one of the Giardia people.
Yeah.
We'll
You have to.
see.
Yeah, you'll have to report back. Let us know
Yeah.
how you turn out. Oh, so
Yeah, but
you crossed this here?
no, I crossed the bridge. The bridge is
Okay,
just to the left. It's not in
got
the
it.
photo.
Okay.
But yeah, it was really interesting because they didn't usually they have the little cup attached to the string that you can
Mm-hmm.
drop it in from the bridge. The cup wasn't there. And yes, I can't remember who said that, like, oh, it was they tried to attach their cup, but it didn't like it wasn't long enough to get to the water. And I'm not sure why they didn't just walk on the sides, because when I got there it was pretty, I mean, you can see there it's very walkable for you to reach to
Yeah.
the sides of the creek. So I'm not sure why they didn't do it if it was melted or whatnot, but there was a
Mm-hmm.
couple people that couldn't reach the creek for whatever reason.
Oh, well.
Yeah, the signs that are not accurate at all.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the tiny little bit of water that the snow that I tried to melt. When I was hitting the tussocks, I was getting concerned that I was running really low on water, and you would hit these sections, like these patches that were just tussocks with absolutely no snow. And every now and again, you will hit some snow fields, and I was like, I don't want to gamble and just, keep on pushing. And all of a sudden, I'm completely out of snow, like even the possibility of snow. So I stopped, and it was like that was what I was able to find to collect. I don't know, maybe I boiled like half of a cup of water that ended up being just more sticks and leaves than anything else. But it helped. It carried me through to Sullivan Creek. I think it was about 8 miles out from Sullivan at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's cleared out for dinner now.
Oh, it's time for dinner?
Very much, but yeah.
Yeah. More tussocks. This is me on day 2 or 3 of like no sleep. The progression of getting your face all puffy and swollen is certainly there.
Yeah.
Nikolai checkpoint. Yeah, this year we got the big upgrade of having some cots and mattresses. Did you get one of those? Yeah, I didn't either. When I got that, they were all claimed. Yeah, so
I've been specializing on the floor in every checkpoint, so, and I've kind of don't mind it actually.
Yeah, I don't mind it either. But yeah, it was just nice to see that, the little creature comforts that they are providing us like this year.
And this time, see, when I came through in 2020, we were so slow that the checkpoint was closed. The ITI checkpoint was closed. There wasn't a cutoff there, but because those dogs were coming through, they had to take everything from ITI out of the checkpoint.
Oh,
and so we didn't have any. Didn't have any food. So when I got there this time, I was like, whatever food there is, I'm having it. So Jane was like, do you want a burger? You could have these 3 flavors. And I was like, yeah, can I have one of everything? And then I was like, actually, no, I probably only eat 2 burgers. So he made me 2 burgers. And then I went and bought the $4 chocolate bars.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm not going to run out of food this time. I bought 3 chocolate bars, which I've still got in my bag. I didn't even eat them. And so I was kind of in like food anxiety mode when I got to Nikolai.
Yeah.
But I could have just.
I also got to Nikolai with very low food. Yeah.
Well, I actually had tons of food, but I just mentally was just stressed because of what had happened before. I was like, I'm not going to leave Nikolai, and my bike is like loaded with food, and we didn't even really need it. It was like a real nice, easy ride from there to here.
Yeah.
Those guys, the checkpoint guys, are so great.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was Nikolai. Yeah, and that was leaving Nikolai.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Amazing.
I got
spectacular.
Yeah, I think that was like it was just such a special way to finish like my journey, because that was the last morning, and I left Nikolai under like the most intense northern lights, and I was just so happy and fulfilled. I was like, okay, this has been such a great experience yet again.
That's a great.
The other thing that I love about these photos, I noticed this in someone else's Northern Lights photos too, are the stars. Like,
yeah,
like I was recently talking to someone about stars and dark sky, and just how there are so few places that we go that are like truly dark. And obviously this part of Alaska is one of the darkest places. It's like the darkest kind of sky that you have, and like just like when I take photos of northern lights at home, I just don't get stars like this, the way that they're coming through on everyone's photos. It's so cool.
Yeah, it is. Like the night that I bevied with the Italian party, like I was just like laying down on my bivy, not on my bivy because I didn't use the bivy itself. I was just like on my sleeping bag, and I opened my eyes and I could see like the bands of the aurora, and then like just so many stars, and it was such a special night. It was so great,
gorgeous,
so beautiful.
Oh, well, you got a photo of that. Yeah,
I don't want to be that person. I was so careful with that toilet.
That sign worked for sure. Yeah. Yeah, I think that was the morning of I think that, I'm not sure actually right now.
You like those? Is that Cold Avenger?
Yeah, I like it.
Good?
Yeah.
Never tried one.
I used the Airtrim last year, and I feel like the Airtrim, like the filter is so like not sensitive. It's just like it gets, if it gets wet quick, it will freeze up, and if you try to thaw it, it just rips apart. And this one, it's just plastic. So
Yeah.
Yeah, and this was my last
icicle.
Yeah, my 4-inch icicle that you can probably ice climb if you like to. But that was my last morning, just pulling into McGrath. That's kind of, I think it was probably, I don't know, like 3-4 hours before I finished. It was a really cold morning, but I was also doing a pretty tough push. Like I was cranking hard because I was wanting to be done. And I was also holding 16th place overall, and I really wanted to get to that 16th place overall. So I was putting a lot of effort to not let anyone pass me, out of my own ego. So my last few hours, I was racing wet, which is a big no-no. If you're listening to this, don't do that. I did it because I knew that I was going to be done soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was racing wet. That's why there's so much frost collected all around my chest and my chin and whatnot. But yeah, it was also a very cold morning.
But you still had time to take a few selfies.
Yeah, because it's like, oh, it looks cool. I was like, this is an absolute no. I should not be doing that, but it looks cool.
Well, maybe we should call it now. Do you think, now that everybody's headed off to dinner? It's a good place to stop in your last morning.
Yeah, and that's finish
line. Oh, did you get your?
Yeah.
Yep, great, and that's it. Oh, you have the candy.
That's not my photo. I don't know where that is. That's the Brazilian candy. Yeah.
That's my photo.
Yeah.
That I must have sent to you at some point. Okay.
Oh, you did. Yeah, because I remember when you sent me that.
Yeah. Fun. Great. Well, thank you so much. That was really fun to hear the stories and see all of your pictures, and it's absolutely gorgeous, and sounds like you had a wonderful experience. Challenging in all the right ways, enough challenge, a lot of fun, a lot of beauty. So
yeah.
Just great. I'm really happy for you both.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it. Appreciate you guys doing this. It's awesome. It's great to have all the support.
Great. Yeah, my pleasure. I love the race so much, and I've spent so much time there. It's like, now that I'm at home, like it's kind of all I think about or have thought about for the last week. So
yeah.
Yeah,
and we all have so much admiration and respect for you and all of the ladies involved in this. It's just such a great community.
Thank you.
So yeah.
Great. Good.
And we're excited to see Carrie coming up here today too. So
yes, I'm so excited for her to get it to McGrath.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, great. Well, why don't you can go along to supper. I have some more updates, just kind of some general stuff about the race.
Okay.
But yeah.
Thanks very much, Leah.
Yeah, thanks, Leah.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Have a good evening. Bye.
You too. Bye.
Thanks. Okay, so that was great to hear from them. So I just have some general updates about the day's news. Today was a very warm and sunny day. There are racers on the trail all the way from from the burn all the way up past Ruby onto the Yukon River. Geiska, who is the Spaniard in the 1,000-mile race, he got up to Carlson Crossing Cabin, which is maybe 40 or 50 miles past McGrath, and he made the choice to turn around, and he will be dropping from the race. He's on his way back, making good time. Gavin Hennigan is the leader in the 1,000-mile race on foot for the men, and he left McGrath this morning to continue on. Also, the Iditarod dog sled race started this afternoon at 2 o'clock in Fairbanks, and they will travel down river onto the Yukon River, and then join up with our racers in Ruby. So I'm guessing they'll be there maybe Tuesday night or Wednesday morning. I'm not exactly sure how fast they're going to travel. Like, they'll travel faster than they normally would because they're going to be on a river instead of, typically the first couple days of the race, they're doing a fair amount of climbing. So it'll be fun once our racers are seeing the dog teams and the mushers on the trail. And also, there is a winter weather advisory in effect right now for the area just past McGrath all the way up through the Yukon River. So at this point, it's basically everyone in the race who has already left McGrath is in it. And so they're forecasting 3 to 5 inches of snow between now and Tuesday morning at 7 a.m. And temps are going to stay in the 20s that whole time. So it'll be warm and soft. I expect that'll probably slow people down a little bit. There were some finishers since yesterday. J.C. Croft from Anchorage finished yesterday early afternoon. Later in the afternoon, DJ or Dustin Johnson finished. He's from Mundelein, Illinois. Next was Colin Kurzgaard and Jason Katsuris, both from Wasilla. They were on bike. Overnight, Aaron Shapiro came in. He's the third man on foot. And then early in the morning, Jessie Gladish I think she's from Whitehorse, Yukon, finished. She's the second woman to come in on skis. And there's a couple interesting things about her. One is that yesterday, Tracy Curry set the women's course record. With Jessie Gladish's time, she is also under the course record that was set 2 years ago, which was just lowered earlier or just yesterday by Tracy. But interesting that both times are under the previous course record. So that's really cool. The other thing about Jessie is that she becomes the fourth person and the second woman who has raced the 350 in all three modes of transportation on bike, foot, and now ski. So congratulations, Jessie. That's an awesome accomplishment. Okay. Then in the 1,000-mile race, I already talked a little bit about Pete Delamere, who is in Ruby, or has already gone through Ruby. And then from that point, he'll be on the Yukon River for something like 150 miles. I said Gavin Hennigan has arrived in McGrath and left. Gavin won the men's race on foot to Nome, the 1,000-mile last winter. Gavin's an experienced adventurer. Originally, he's from Ireland, but now he spends his time between his house and the French Alps and working undersea as a saturation diver on a drilling rig in the Persian Gulf. He's rowed across the Atlantic Ocean, overcome addiction, and had lots of other adventures, twists and turns in life. And this year, he's raising money for an organization called Parkinson's Ireland. His mother was recently diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and he is raising funds for a Parkinson's organization. There's been discussion amongst the Wild Winter Women group about his toenails. I want to get a report on how his nails are doing. Before the race, he said that he had been trying to lose his toenails unsuccessfully, but is concerned they might come off halfway through the race. So we can find out. And then John Rickner has arrived in McGrath, I believe on foot. Eric Bassett is headed into McGrath now, followed by Kari Gibbons. And Kari is the lead woman on foot in the 1,000-mile race. So that's all we have for tonight. Check out the Wild Winter Women on Instagram. Iditarod Trail Invitational also on Instagram. And the tracker, there's a lot of more information out there. Also, I'm interested in feedback. What are you interested in hearing about, or what do you want more of? What do you want less of? Any feedback is welcome. So thanks for joining us. Have a good night.